I actually still have the audition mask right here.
I appreciate you taking the time out to
Hmm,
chat with me about your role in the monsters, the Ed Gein story. Tell me about how, because I was looking at your body of work, and it's
yeah.
a lot of animation, voiceover, games. So, like, I think a lot of people have heard you, but they haven't realized that they've, listened to you in probably a lot of their favorite stuff. But tell me how, because this is such a departure, I think, in theme wise
Yeah.
from your usual stuff. How did the role of
What do
Leatherface
you
come?
mean? Mickey Mouse Clubhouse Plus to Monster the Ed Gein Story? Double
Can you
feature.
can you imagine?
Yeah, that is Leatherface is not a mouse capel. I imagine we'll be visiting anytime soon. So yeah, I'm an actor, and so I have agents. I have on camera agents and voiceover representation, and I audition for everything. I mean, I love our industry. I love what I do. And so I'm always open to opportunities. And my on-camera agent, Julie at Herbie Grimes, is amazing. And this came through, and I think she called me and she was like, "Don't miss this," because we have a toddler, we have a 2-year-old, and family first, got to prioritize,
Of
especially in the
course.
industry. And sometimes auditions, even though after the last strike, audition turnarounds have gotten a little easier. Sometimes there are just things that you gotta get on. So I remember, I think we might have been either in Disney World or coming back from Disney World for another project, and I had to jump in and do this audition. And I'm a big horror fan, and so I knew. I believe the audition was under Gunnar Hansen, so I wasn't Leatherface.
Ah,
Maybe it was Leatherface, but um, Gunnar was the name, and I was like, "Oh, I know exactly who this is and what this is for." And the audition was really unique because it was a 2-minute monologue that the reader or your who's helping you with the audition is reading, and I'm sitting in a chair having makeup applied. And so if you watch the show or have watched the show in
episode
season 3,
4.
episode 4, thank
Yeah.
you, amazing. In the trailer, Toby's applying the makeup, and we're doing that
Yep.
whole thing about the different. So that was the audition scene, and I had to go to a friend's house because I was like, I need a Leatherface mask. And I think at the time it was around Christmas and Halloween had just passed. I was like, where do I find a Leatherface mask? And so one of my buddies works in horror and had a whole like wardrobe of masks. And so I actually still have the audition mask right here. True story. And this was the one that we wore for the audition, and we ran my hair through
Oh my
instead of
God.
wigging it because it was a little too tight, but we had to make it work. And so just sitting in a chair, and so much of acting is obviously reacting, and so just listening. Um, and the piece was really about um, Gunnar getting into the character for the first time. So hearing about the person that inspired the role and embodying that, and kind of tapping into some of those primal emotions that I think Leatherface expresses, which is fear and vision, and sort of the hunter gatherer kind of thing, but also
Yeah.
very childlike, very like I don't want to get in trouble. And so yeah, that's how it came about. Found out later that I was within 5 pounds, exactly the same height and weight as Gunnar. And so that kind of was obviously a deciding factor because the mask was already created when I was cast. The mask was already built by Noah Rivers based on the original Bob Burns design, and the mask just fit exactly where it needed to fit. And like
Wow.
Gunnar and I kind of had a similar little like that sort of Norwegian what do they call like the turkey gobble. And the mask is not supposed to fit proportionally on the face. It's supposed to be someone else's face, and Leatherface is supposed to
Yeah.
be bursting out of it. And so
Uh-huh.
the mask fit exactly and sat exactly how it sat on Gunner's face, and that was really amazing, and a cool sign. It felt like again when the mask was on, it just was sort of game over and kind of took over. And even if I was at craft services with the mask on, putting
Right.
potato salad on my plate, everyone else is like moving away. Like yeah,
That's so interesting because I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I feel like it has happened even in my own experience, but to put yourself on tape for an audition, that's 2 minutes of a dialogue and you are just not able to speak because they're looking for are you able to express, but are you able to express through like the mask? I think
Right.
that's so interesting. So in the breakdown, there was like no, or when you got the self-tape instructions, like there was no line spoken for your character at all in that.
One line, the same line that's in episode 4, when what does that make you, Leatherface? But to inform that line, that means while you're hearing Toby describe Ed Gein and the mask that he wears, you as the actor can't just sit there. You're actively listening,
Right.
you know, and trying to make choices and think about like where certain words hit you. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't a far stretch because there are a lot of times in whatever type of acting I do where that's how directors speak to actors. And it could
Yeah.
be, you know, in my realm, not just on camera, but in voiceover, I also, you know, I work a lot commercially, and I do a lot of commercial voiceover, a lot of commercial stuff. And that's how directors talk about the products. I mean, like they're that passionate about something. And so I've sat in a room and have someone go, so you are, like I was the voice of the Kool-Aid Man, and I had the ad agency tell me, so you're the Kool-Aid Man. And very seriously, it's your job to deliver summer fun and shake it up. And again, so I put myself in the process in my own realm, as in my own work, going, okay, like if I had a director, and I have, enthusiastically give me a lot of character description, I'm listening. You're just listening for the words you can act, right? Because a lot of times the breakdowns that come out are things that are good context, but not actively helpful if you're an actor. You know, how do I play this scene? What am I doing? What do I want? Who am I talking to? And then a lot of times, you know, especially video games and a lot of breakdowns have a lot of context that, you know, as an actor, you're just like, okay, I just need the words. Hungry, angry, scared. And that's our job, is, you know, to kind of translate that in script analysis. And so yeah, I just treated it like any experience I had where the director's really enthusiastic and giving me a lot of information. And I'm just sort of listening and trying to kind of find out what sits in my body and what resonates with me. And doing that through the lens of Gunnar. Also, it's hot, you know, in Texas when they film this. It's going on forever. There are crew members that, you know, historically it was sharing property lines with a weed farm. And so there are crew members that are smoking. It smells bad because the taxidermied animals, like they, you know, it's not, these were not props. It
Right.
was stinky and it was hot and he was over it. And so those are the things that, you know, as an actor, you're like, okay, I've had bad jobs. I've been on bad sets, you know, and or had bad experiences on set. So you're channeling that too, and keeping that at the front of your mind, which is like he wanted to just get out there, wave that chainsaw, and be done. And
Yeah.
just kept going.
Yeah, because it's funny that you talk about like I haven't really read into like the making of the actual like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but they put that
Yeah,
in the show where the actresses were like, it smells bad. And I was like, oh my God, did they really? And you just basically confirmed that for
yeah,
me.
hmm yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So there are a couple. There's some great books about it. There's some great documentaries about it. There's one that just is releasing now called Chain Reaction, which is about not just the making of the film, but how the world responded to the movie. Gunnar wrote a book before he passed called Chainsaw Confidential, which was one of the first things I read when I got the part, because it literally
Wow.
talks about how he informed the character, where he did to went research, you know, to do research, where he went in his headspace. And as an actor, I was like, oh, this is my job. It's done here. I mean, not only obviously, you know, I think a lot of people would ask, like, oh, did you leave your mark? Did you want to make this your own? And I honestly feel like for this time out and what we were trying to do with the series and particularly these parts, it was all about pointing back to that original performance. It was all about, because the entire thing, the meta commentary is back to the original, right? So I want people to walk away from that and have the experience, or have an interest to watch the full movie and go see Gunnar's performance, because there's a reason that character is so iconic. Um, and a lot of it has to do with the way he threw himself into it. And so that was the energy I was trying to match. That was at the forefront of my mind. If you walk away going, hey, I want to put on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I've done my job. I've done my job.
Low key, I kind of did, but it was really late at night when I finished, and I was like, "Oh, I can't. I'm gonna dream about this if I actually like watch a little bit of it."
Yeah, well, you know,
Yeah,
it's a fun, it's a great it. The movie has certainly grown on me now through my own perspective, but it is something that a lot of horror fans as well, like some people have not seen it. It just is. you think you've seen it, or and
Right. Well,
again,
there's
what's
so
really
many
interesting,
now
yeah,
too.
right, yeah, absolutely, and soon to
Yeah.
be more, soon to be more. So, but if you haven't seen the original movie, now's the time. Watch it. I think it is streaming on Netflix actually, so there's no reason not to.
You just click over. I feel like it probably pops up when you get to the end of like the Netflix series, like you like
Yep,
this, so
yep,
therefore watch this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and they were really smart about that too, because the Hitchcock library is on there too, so you
Yeah.
can finish Monster. You could go right
Watch
in to
Psycho.
watch Psycho. You can watch Texas Chainsaw, which is cool. I mean, that's really cool, and it's amazing. That's part of what's really cool about this industry moment is like a lot of our these stories that we've been telling stretch over decades,
Yeah.
and it's really cool to be able to point people to other pieces of work. Yeah, and be a part of that.
I love that you're speaking so passionately about this. It really shows that you care, and you talk about getting into like the headspace of preparing
Yeah.
to play this role and to bring it to life. Talk to me about your experience in embodying it physically, not just like in when you put on the mask and you're standing up and you're like swinging the chainsaw, because that was
Yeah.
incredible to watch.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, obviously I had the source material for that, but that was it was me doing it. And so it's always different than when you're like, okay, let's figure it out. So not a lot of people know this. I got OSHA certified to work a chainsaw before we filmed.
Yep.
So I was like, because I didn't know what I was walking into. I didn't know, are we going to be using the exact chainsaw that I think was real without teeth? And then I got on set, and it was not the real chainsaw. It was an incredibly screen accurate, very safe replica, made by Cameron Loden, our production designer, who put a lot of care into that. But they had two versions of the chainsaw for me. There was one that was pretty much just with the gears and the pieces out, so I could have for weight. And there was another one that was maybe 5 to 7 pounds that was uh, essentially like a rubber mold. And I can't even tell you now watching which time I'm using which. But so I practiced prior with a real chainsaw. I also practiced prior trying to walk and run and sort of stumble in these boots in the dark before we filmed stuff, because you're obviously got the mask on, and we filmed at the Disney Ranch for parts outdoors, not on a set, in the real outdoors in nature. And so I'd be standing there in between takes, and the Disney Ranch had like a park ranger on staff who would just like quietly walk over and grab a snake and put it in the bucket and be like, "This is amazing." It was his job. He was just a snake wrangler. We're like, "Oh, 1 second." You'd be talking to him and just very calmly throw a snake in the bucket, and then they relocate them. But yeah, so it was a lot of the physical stuff, and then as soon as I had the mask and the costume and I was on set, going well ahead of the scenes to walk the space with the stunt coordinator, have a conversation with the stunt coordinator, what the expectations are, what speed we're going, working with the other actors. And then, sitting in the mask in between takes and just letting that kind of build up, which is, feeling confined and a little like, it really kind of adds to the feeling of like, not full method, but you lose yourself a little bit because you're wearing this essentially piece of latex over your face for hours, and people
Yeah.
aren't talking to you, or they're
They're
not,
just, they're a
they're
little
avoiding eye
nervous.
contact. Yeah, we'd be standing by a heater because like some of these shots we did pretty late, and we had to the particular scene where we were doing the Franklin death, where Leatherface pops up, and it's the really iconic scene where he chops the guy in half. I remember being like, "Can we do that one more time?" Because the blood was super warm, and it was like super nice because it was cold. It's December. But yeah, we'd be standing by the heater, and like the actress who played Marilyn would be like, "I'm sorry, I can't look at you. Like you're really freaking me out," or things like and I'm just standing there. I'm just
Yeah.
maybe breathing heavily because I just ran with the chainsaw, but
And you
not
get the
like
mask on too, so it impedes a little
right,
bit of the.
right, yeah, that's part of it.
That's crazy. What was the first scene that you shot?
The very first scene that we filmed was the piece in the trailer. So the
Okay.
piece in the trailer with Toby, and that was literally like
Wow.
that we all shot together. So that was the first time they'd seen me in costume. It was the first time they'd heard me do the Leatherface kind of scream and squeal. And yeah, and I think that was Ian was on set that day directing. So our two directors were Ian Brennan and Max Winkler. Max directed, I think the back half, the majority of the back half. Ian did our episodes and our segments, and also wrote the season. So he really had the vision and was very quickly. They were both wonderful to work with. Ian was like, yeah, just do it. You know what you're doing. And like to have that trust from a director that you respect and that you know of, and to also that feeling of like not nonchalant, it's just confident collaboration. And it just made me want to go further and like deliver to the extent that I needed to, which was like these are just the parts that I have, which is like when we're gonna, run, we're gonna go out all out. When we're gonna scream, we're gonna go all out. And yeah, it was a really amazing experience.
Can I ask when you let that just let your vocal cords do the thing? Because everybody was on set together that day. What were their like reactions when you let it out? Because I knew it was coming, right? Because you've seen the movie, you kind of know.
Yeah.
But it was just so like this visceral, and I was like, oh, what was everybody's
Yeah.
reaction when you when you did
It
it?
was, I mean, I think the first, I think we filmed that two or three times. And
Hmm.
the third time, Ian was outside the trailer and the DP has the camera in my face, right? Because it's this match cut to Charlie and it was awesome. But that camera is like right there.
Yeah.
And Ian was like, okay, for this last one, I want you to physically scream in the voice as long as you can. Now, as a voice actor, I love a challenge. So, the majority of what you hear in that take where the stream is running underneath was live on take. So that was in the moment. I went absolutely as long to the point where it was absurd how long I was going. And I think that was the intention there, which was like, and then Charlie matches the scream later on, and this idea of like, um, what makes Leatherface so scary is the unrelenting nature of that character once he's been unleashed. And I think, the show really points back to like obviously the aspects of Ed Gein that are truly terrifying, the crimes that are unspeakable, but how it is was born out of a lot of it. One part the mental health issues, and the other part trauma. I mean, he saw these images at a very vulnerable state, and they stuck with him. And I think the commentary of like iconic imagery we can't shake, like it felt so appropriate to have Leatherface in there because he is a part of the culture now.
Yeah.
Um, and almost to the point where it seems tame, But if you go back and you watch that original movie and put yourself in the context of where we are, mid 70s, end of the 70s, after Vietnam, it's brutal to watch. It is absolutely brutal to watch. And I think that guttural that kind of thing is about it almost to me is like it's a cry, it's a little bit of a sort of like a pig squeal. It's also just frustration and that primal release. um so yeah, I mean it was something that was super fun to do. I definitely, if you watch Gunnar and you watch me, I'm doing the voice a lot more than Gunnar did. And that, that just can't help but put our thumbprints on things. And for me, it was just so much more informed where there were more moments that I wanted to do it,
Yeah.
probably because I am a voice artist and I'm so focused on the sound. But yeah, it was super, super fun to do. And yeah, the first time that it happened, everyone was sort of like, oh my God, because I'm under the mask. No one knows who I am under the mask. And I think that was the moment, which was, wow, you don't just look like Leatherface. You are embodying this character. You have channeled this character. And that was the job, was to get as close to Gunnar and his original performance. And the fans have been really incredible. After this premiered, I've been having a lot of people reach out that are Texas Chainsaw fans and Scary Movie fans. And so it's been really great to get, their feedback, which is like, we, didn't know where it looked like it was Gunnar. We thought maybe they intercut the real movie. And that was really special. That was really the goal.
Yeah. No, I would say you more than nailed it because I even
Well, thank
exactly
you.
what you said, how they cut back to like it's a scene from the film. And I was like,
Yeah.
is this it's I was like, I think it's not. I think they filmed it, they recreated it. But I even questioned it because of just everything that all the details, your performance, your energy, everything. So thank you so much for all of the tidbit. I am out of time, Brock, but this was such a
This
great
was great.
conversation. Thank you so much for sharing so much, and I wish you the best of luck in everything else you do.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. Happy Halloween. And
Happy
yeah,
Halloween!
definitely talk to you soon. Take
Talk
care.
to you later. Thank you.